can I say, guys? Welcome back to another video here from the Off-Grid Garage in sweaty hot Australia. We had like 35 degrees again today. It's late afternoon, about 3 o'clock, so sun is slowly going down, batteries are full, everything is full. And in yesterday's video we had a look at all the new settings and functions of the JK-BMS, the inverter, the brand new Inverter BMS. Quite impressive what they have done now, right? They also surprised us all with the buzzer function and the dry contacts we can now freely program in this BMS. So you can close a contact on high voltage cell, over current, over temperature, all this kind of stuff. If you haven't seen the video, you have to watch it. It's linked down below. Well, in today's video, we want to turn on the light first, because otherwise the video gets too dark. Does it make a difference? Maybe not. So in today's video, we want to see if the new BMS can deliver what it promises. Actually, if JK, the team of JK, can deliver what they have promised, what they have shown us in the new software app. So I have already connected the BMS to our Powerwall 2.0 19536. None of the other batteries is connected. It's only the Frankenstein Battery with our JK BMS and the display. Lights are flashing. Well, to be honest, I'm not sure what will happen if this all works as they designed it, or if we find new problems with the BMS. I don't know. That's why I have my red warning t-shirt on. We are far from 3.5 amps outside. We had like 265 amps I've seen when I looked at it today. So I have throttled the charging here down to 100 amps for the whole battery bank. And it is already full. It's still charging. We're absorbing now 55.2 volts and 16 amps going in. That's all. And I have also connected the JK BMS to our Powerwall with a CAN cable. It is connected to the Servo GX there, sending all the data of the battery to the Servo GX. And because the Frankenstein battery was almost full, I have actually discharged it this morning by recharging my battery operated electric pool cleaner. Guys, this thing is so cool. You charge it up and then it cleans the whole floor and the walls and the water line, everything. And it does a pretty good job. I've never had a better pool cleaner than this one. You charge it, you turn it on, and you chuck it in the pool, and that's it. It does the rest by itself. Yeah, if you're looking for one, I can really recommend this one. I'll link it down below. Hey, it's a battery operated device, so it belongs here, right? So we are now connected to the Victron remote console, and we have a look at the settings here. Yep, there's the smart BMS. It gives us all the details. The voltage 52.88. Under details we can see cell number 3 is the low cell and 5 is the high one. And this matches with our app here. So 3 and 12. Yep, perfect. That works. And the data is correct as well. Yes. Lowest temperature measured is sensor number 4 with 28 degrees. Where's number 4? There it is, 28.9. Okay, so it's obviously rounding down. And the maximum cell temperature is 29. Yep, it's rounding down, it looks like it. Now number 2, 30. Yeah, that was correct. We've got one battery module online, 0 offline. We've got only one. And one battery is blocking charging and one battery is blocking discharging, because I haven't turned on the function switches here on the BMS yet. So one further down, it gives us a 280 ampere hour installed capacity of this battery. This is what we told the BMS the battery is. And because of the state of charge of 77%, it tells us we have 216 ampere hours available. So perfect. That is really good here. Gives you all the information from the BMS. Device here is also where you can change the name of your BMS. And then we go to parameters, right? We have to go into parameters. And you can see here 55.2 volts already. I have set my settings and parameters already in the JK BMS. I'll walk you through in a second. And we can also see that the charge current limit is 0 amps and the DCL discharge current limit is 0 amps as well. Because as I said, when we go to the function switches on the third page, nothing is turned on at the moment. So if you turn on discharge, we should see a DCL coming up very soon. Yeah, there it is, 95 amps. This is 100 amps I set minus the 5%. And when I turn on charge, it should also show 95 amps here. Perfect. Okay, we turn on the balancer and we have to turn on float mode. Otherwise, the BMS will not float. It will charge to the CVL to 55.2 and stay there forever. Yeah, this is what I said yesterday. You can use this as a top balance feature and leave the battery on 55.2 for the whole day, and the active balancer of the JK-BMS will do the rest and perfectly balance your battery. All right, let's turn this on. Okay, so if we go back into the main screen, we should now see that the battery is starting to charge. Yeah, 17 amps are coming in. We quickly confirm this here with the BMS. They should be exactly the same values, 53.14 volts and 17.6 amps from solar coming in. We shouldn't be far off. The battery should be at 96, 97% or something, so it could only take a couple of minutes until it's fully charged again. All right, settings. This is what I have set up now. This is how I would operate my BMS in a production environment. So obviously 16 cells, 280 amp hours. It's the Frankenstein battery. 10 millivolt deviation is fine. I would probably go with 5, but it doesn't really matter. It makes no difference. Again, no big deal. Even if you have 20 or 30 millivolt, that's totally fine. Works. So balance start voltage 3.45, and here is our cell RCV. This is our requested charge voltage of 3.45 volts times 16 gives us the 55.2 volts, right? The state of charge changes at 3.449 volts already, because I cannot set it to the same value as my RCV. So these two values need to be different, and the state of charge 100% voltage needs to be lower than the RCV for whatever reason. This is just how they put the charging algorithm in. Okay, all the other settings are not from interest at the moment. Hang on. Here's the voltage cell requested float voltage. It is 3.35 times 15 would be 53.6 volts. And then temperatures, not of interest at the moment. So, and here I have set the RCV timer. This is our absorption timer to 0.1 hours, which is 6 minutes. I don't want to stay here forever in the garage. So 6 minutes absorption time, and then it should go to 53.6 here in the CVL. We should see this on the screen, and then the charger throttles down to a 53.6 and keeps the battery 100% charged at a lower voltage. And it stays there on this 53.6 for 3 hours. Okay, I'll change this one here to 0.1 as well. Yeah. So 6 minutes absorption time, then the voltage goes down to 53.6, and then another 6 minutes of float time, and afterwards it goes back to bulk. So we should see the voltage changing again to 55.2, and this is what it does all the time. This is now the cycle we have programmed into the BMS, and it will control your charger, your inverter, whatever you have accordingly now. So, and these are the important parameters. So go back to the main screen. We're still charging 15 amps. I guess I'll be back when it gets a bit more interesting and exciting here on the screen. Well guys, I must say so far I'm happy with the result. The BMS sends all the information to the Servo GX so far, so it would do the same with your inverter. All the data is complete and correct, which it wasn't before either. There was some stuff missing and some stuff wasn't even working correctly. So luckily this seems to be fixed now. So while we are waiting for the charge to finish here with this battery, I'm going to have a look in the Pool Fence MPPT solar charge controller here under network operation. Yep, here you can see it's under external control by the BMS. So it charges to 55.2 volts as been told by the BMS, and the maximum charge is 35 amps. Even we have set 100 amps in the BMS, the MPPT can only deliver 35 amps, so this is just the limit of the MPPT charge controller. But if we go into the settings and for example we set the continued charge current from 100 amps to only 20 amps and click on OK, we should actually see a change here after a while. Yep, there it goes to 19. Yep, that is 20 amps minus 5%. This is 19 amps. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. That is 5% is 1 amp. So you can see how the BMS now controls your charger as well. It's pretty cool. Just checking on the current here. So we measure 17 amps, while the BMS measures 18.4. 17, 18.4. Which one is correct? Well, you tell me. And I have also changed the capacity of the battery here from 280 ampere hours to 28. So I took away the 0 and then changed it back to 280. And this messes up your state of charge. So it shows now 79%. So I want to see when it resets to 100%. Because the state of charge 100% voltage of 3.449 volts. Does one of the cells need to reach this voltage, or is this times 16 as well, and we need the battery to reach this overall voltage? So let's see when it resets to 100%. Okay, so we are now at 54.9 volts, so we are close to our absorption voltage. And we can see some of the cells have already reached 3.478. So this is above the set 3.449 for the 100% reset. And the BMS is on 100% reset. So the trigger resetting to 100% is on a cell level. One of the cells need to reach this set voltage here. And then the BMS resets to 100%. This is a tiny bit too early. It is not 100% correct. Okay, we are now coming close to 55.2 volts. We are still charging with 10 amps. You can see nothing has changed. CCL and DCL are still 95 amps. Here we have the 55.2 volts. So this should now trigger our absorption timer. So the big question is now, do we need to stay above 55.2 volts all the time for the timer to run? Or is it enough to reach it once and then it triggers? Because if I turn on a load now, like the battery pool cleaner, the battery voltage will go under 55.2 volts again. Or we need to monitor the time. So we reached the 55.2 volts at 3:41. 6 minutes, 3:47. This should be the time when we see 53.6 volts here in the Victron remote console. So hopefully it all works out. 6 minutes and then we should know. Yeah, as I just said, is it important to stay above these 55.2 volts all the time now? Or is it enough if we trigger it once and then we can go under? Because if I turn on my automatic pool cleaner now here and recharge it, the voltage will then go under 55.2 volts again, at least for a moment. What does it do to the timer? Does it interrupt it? Does it reset it? Does it pause it? So as you can see, the battery voltage is already slowly going down, even there's nothing connected, because the MPPT solar charge controller is ramping down more and more. So here's our pool fence solar charge controller. We are still charging with 2.3 amps into the battery, and the BMS claims 2 amps. So which one is correct? You tell me. And now we are under 55.2 volts. So let's see if this disturbs the timer. And some people suggested that JK programs some intelligence into their BMS electronic now, where it ramps down the current as well once the battery gets full. I don't really see the point of that, because the current goes down automatically once you reach your absorption voltage. Yeah, we have tested this many times here on the channel. You can see the voltage and current charge curves. And once we keep the voltage constant, the current goes down by itself, naturally. Why would you force that and build this into your charging logic and algorithm? I don't really see the point. Okay, we are now at 3:47. So hopefully we can see the charge voltage limit going down to 53.6 at some stage. Could be another minute or so. Come on, JK, come on. And you can also see the balancer is active now in the BMS. It has kicked in at 3.45 volts. And we've got a cell deviation here of 37 millivolt in the Frankenstein battery. 5 different brands of batteries, different capacities, different ages. This makes the Frankenstein battery. Made from different parts. Okay, it has just flipped over to 53.6 volts. Precisely 6 minutes after we hit the 55.2 volts for the very first time. So you can see CCL sits still at 95%, but because we have reached the voltage now, there's no current, the battery is now fully absorbed, and there's no current going into the battery anymore. So why would you change the CCL then in this case here, right? So I think this is perfectly fine, and it works great with off-grid systems. But if you change this to 0, for example, like other BMSs do, my solar charge controller would not deliver any power to my loads anymore. So, and this is perfect. Okay, network operation, yep, it tells the solar charge controller now charge to 53.6 volts, still with 35 amps. And the solar charge controller is waiting at the moment to reach the 53.6 volts, right? We have just seen this here in the network operation of the charge controller. It is waiting for 53.6, and we are still over this voltage at the moment, so it's not providing any power. This is perfectly fine, this is normal. But at 3:53, so in 2 minutes, we should see the end of the float mode, and the timer runs out, and it should go back to 55.2 volts again. And now this is a silly algorithm now, but I want to see if the timers work correctly and how they work, and if everything works. At the moment, perfect. So it's discharging the battery at the moment to supply power to the robo cleaner. And this is the networked operation menu here of the MPPT solar charge controller, which gets the information and commands from the JK-BMS. So we may see an increase again to 55.2 in just a minute. That would be amazing. Come on, JK, you got this. Should be any moment. 6 minutes are over. Or does it actually need to reach the 53.6 volts? I don't think so. That should not make any difference. The float timer should run after the absorption timer has finished. Come on. Come on, JK. Oh, there it is. 55.2 volts. 6 minutes over, and it goes back to 55.2. And we can see the solar charge controller is now ramping up, trying to recharge the battery to 55.2 volts again. That is freaking amazing. The whole charging cycle works a treat. And the BMS will do exactly the same with your inverter. It tells the inverter, charge to 55.2 volts, wait for 6 minutes, go down to 53.6, keep the battery 100% charged, and then after 6 minutes it goes back to 55.2. Of course you change the timers accordingly. This is just for testing purposes. I don't want to spend hours here in the garage. It works amazingly fine. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. And again, it needs only to reach the 55.2 volts in the BMS once to trigger this timer. Afterwards, if you connect a bigger load, voltage will drop again and the timer still runs. Yeah, the timer runs. And this is exactly how it should work. Everything else would be wrong. It should not pause, it should not stop, it should not reset your timer. It should trigger it once and then it runs. This is exactly how the Victron system works as well. And when the voltage drops because you have connected a bigger load, you may not get your absorption time, so you may not have enough time to balance and to absorb your battery. But you wouldn't have this anyway if you connect a load at this point of time then, right? If you don't have enough solar, you won't be able to charge your battery to 55.2 volts anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Perfectly fine how it works. Amazing. Great. Okay, what I have now done is connecting 2 wires here to this terminal. And this is our dry contact number 1. And I've connected these 2 cables to my multimeter probes. Okay, we set this one to continuity test. And we just short these 2. Yeah, when I short these, it beeps. Because I want to program the first relay now to close this contact at a certain temperature. Okay, let's go into dry 1 trigger and we select a charge over current now, battery over temperature. There, this is what I want. Okay, and then we say, okay, we turn on at 40 degrees and turn off at 35 degrees again. Yeah, Okay, so this should be valid for any of these temperature sensors in the BMS. So when we hit the 40 degrees, it should close the contact, and when we cool down to 35 degrees, it should open the contact again. Let's check this again. Number 8 is battery over temperature. Yes. Okay, I'm just pulling out one of the temperature sensors. I'm not sure which one it is. Which temperature? Battery temperature number 1 is that. So, okay, let's turn on the flamethrower and heat up this. There's a bit of a flame. So I'm heating up this temperature sensor now. There it is. You can hear it beeping. It beeps. We've closed the contact. We are over 40 degrees, far over. And now we cool it down to 35. 39, 38, 37. Still beeping. There. Under 35, stops beeping. Opens the contact again. That is amazing. That works amazing. Did the current limit actually go to 0? Let me try this again. Yeah, it beeps. No. Actually, this one doesn't go to 0. No, it won't go to 0. Because this is just the alarm for the relay. To make this one 0, you would need to use the charge over temperature protection parameter, which sits on 70 degrees. If we set this one here to 40 degrees and the release to 35, so exactly the same as for the relay. So 40, okay, 35, okay. Let me heat it up again. There it is. Does it go to 0? Yes, it does. It does. And look at this. The BMS says protection charge over temperature. And this would now stop charging because your battery is too hot. And the relay would also turn on a fan or an alarm, a light or something, a red light, or, you know, an air condition. There's limitless possibilities now. So the T1 is cooling down under 35. We should see the alarm stopping. Yep, stops beeping, and 95 amps charger would kick in, charging the battery. Really? I mean, come on! Okay, the only other thing I want to test now is turn off charge float mode and see if the voltage actually stays at 55.2 forever. Yeah, MPPT is recharging now to 55.2. And again, you could set this one now to 57 volts in the BMS. It would charge to 57 volts and then keep the voltage there forever to let the active balancer of the BMS do your top balancing. And afterwards, you lower the voltage again to what you would charge normally to. So there would be no need for any other external knee active balancer or the capacitive active balancers or taking the battery apart and connecting all the cells in parallel just to top balance again. No. This JK-BMS does it all now. It does it all. And this is exactly the same functionality you will get with the old JK-BMS and the Peter board. Because Peter has integrated such a top balance switch into his interface board as well. And it doesn't float anymore. The battery stays on absorption voltage until you switch it off again and gives the balancer time to balance. Man, that makes life so much easier. Okay, we have now reached the 55.2 volts. So, and if the voltage is still at 55.2 after 10 minutes, so over the 6-minute limit, then this function works as well. Okay guys, so after 20 minutes, the voltage is still on 55.2 volts. So it has moved. Well guys, with this BMS and at this software stage, I cannot find a bug. Everything seems to work perfectly fine, as designed. So we've tested the full charge cycle with absorption time, float time, and rebulk works 100% fine. We've tested the over temperature protection in the BMS, which sets your CCL to 0 amps, stops the charging. We have tested the relay on the BMS. The dry contact closes at the set value. I cannot find a bug. So far, everything works perfectly fine. No concerns, no negatives. It just works. See, and here in the BMS, the balancer is still working, and now we are at 7 millivolt deviation. 7 millivolt, right? 7. So it has already fully top balanced now our Frankenstein battery. And this is exactly what this switch is for when you turn off the float mode. Okay, let me see if I can get a discount code for you from JK to celebrate their success. Well, actually we are not 100% there, right? Because we still need to test the communication between several of these BMSs together. And how does this work? How do we set it up? How do we access several of these BMSs? Change configuration? And also, how do we program the master? So there are quite a few questions open. And I also have to find a donation battery where we take out the existing BMS and put one of the JK Inverter BMSs in. And I think I will use one of the JK or the Global Power battery because they're using the Pace BMS, which is very similar to the JK Inverter BMS. At least all the balance cables are exactly the same. And the communication board at the front panel is the same as well. So that would be the easiest way. Okay, let me figure something out for the next video then. And we butcher one of these batteries here, take the Pace BMS out, put one of the JKs in, cable everything together again, and see how it works. So this will be the final test then with the new inverter JK-BMS. And if this works as well, why would you buy anything else? Okay guys, I would say so far this quick video from today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support here, for all these wonderful, and they are a bit more beautiful than everyone else, guys. Thank you for all your generous donations. And until the next video, when we test the parallel configuration and setup of the JK Inverter BMS, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye. It just works. How should I make interesting videos when everything just works?